Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Well, it is a glorious 4th of July and a Fry-yay. Happy Fry-yay one and all. I am Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor here on Independence Day. No Patrice, but we still are celebrating the occurrence of a Fry-yay along with the 4th of July. It is 6:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. We got all kinds of good stuff coming up. We got Matt Faraci joining us later on in this hour. Jane Hampton-Cook, presidential historian and author. Tim Graham from Newsbusters, congressional candidate. And emigre Anna Medvedeva. Emily Sturge from Campus Reform. Roma Duravi. And the newest senior fellow with the Frontiers of Freedom, Scotty Nell Hughes. Joining me right now is someone well on that road to majority. His name is Michael Whatley. He is the chairman of the Republican National Committee. And let me start here, Michael, which is, as we're broadcasting this, it's either July 4th or July 4th week. What does Independence Day mean to you?
Well, what it means to me is America is going to be strong. We're going to lead the free world. But it's really important to understand why. Yeah. You know, why was America formed, right? It was all about freedom. It was all about liberty. In particular, it was about religious liberty and religious freedom. And as we're going forward right now, there has been over the last 4 years a real crisis of confidence in the American people.
Absolutely.
And we have not been the shining light on the hill that America needs to be for the rest of the world. You know, when America is strong, the world is a far safer place. And when America is weak, the world is a far more dangerous place. Donald Trump is making sure that we are going to be strong and we are going to be the leaders of the free world. That, to me, is what, July 4th and Independence Day is all about.
So I had a conversation last week with my good buddy Jerry Rogers, the editor of Real Clear Policy. Jerry seems to be very pessimistic about the world, but I point to a couple of different things in which common sense seems to be intruding. I think the RNC is capitalizing on this, hitting on voters. The issues of import to them, as Newt Gingrich said, all politics is personal. Talk about this and the road to majority.
Well, look, I think all politics is local, right?
Yeah.
And the reason that Republicans were able to win as commandingly as we were in 2024 is because Donald Trump listened to the voters.
Right.
He understood the issues that they cared about, and he put solutions on the table.
Yes.
There was no question that the number one issue in that election cycle was the economy. It was grocery prices, gasoline prices, housing prices, and that he was working every single day to let people know relief is on the way. When we win, we're going to fix this. The number two issue was the southern border.
Right.
10, 15, 20 million illegal aliens coming across that border with fentanyl, sex trafficking, and everything else associated with it, that he was going to shut down that border.
Right.
People did not vote for Donald Trump because of his charming personality. Right. They voted for him because he is right on the issues that truly matter for their communities and their families.
And because they know that when he makes a promise regarding doing something, he's actually going to deliver on that. That's the thing that gets me, right, is you got folks, the whole No More Kings movement sort of buying into this idea that, the Democratic politicians who've made some of the same promises of Donald Trump never delivered on them, right? This idea that a politician actually makes good on what he says he's going to do, this is unprecedented in the modern era. Talk about that.
It really, truly is. And promises made, promises kept is not just a campaign slogan for Donald Trump. It is a way of life. Yeah. And it is a way that everybody in that administration comes in. We were very careful about the promises that we made on that campaign. And when you focus on the agenda, right, what is it that he actually talked about in all those rallies and all those podcasts and all of those events?
Right.
It was like making sure that we're going to have a healthy economy, making sure that we're going to have a safe, secure southern border, and making sure that we're going to be the strongest country and the leader of the free world.
Right.
It was really, truly those fundamentals that came out in every single speech, every single event, every podcast, and that's what he's doing today.
It's interesting because there's no great secret to how you create a strong economy. Low taxes, low regulatory costs, stable low energy prices. In fact, let me talk about this because, Lee Zeldin, the administrator of the EPA, this past week offered up that they're going to finally revisit Barack Obama's 2009 greenhouse gas endangerment finding. President Trump issues this executive order on energy production. And it's made manifest in, when we go through and we have this strike on Iran, normally in past years, because we've been so beholden to Middle Eastern oil interests, that would cause oil prices to skyrocket. But because we focus so much on domestic energy production, what happens? oil prices don't go up. In fact, they actually wound up tumbling a little bit in the wake of this. This is what we're talking about, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah, we want American producers to be able to set the world oil price, is the way that ultimately it comes down to it. And we want to make sure when we're talking about electricity that we're going to have stable, affordable, reliable electricity, and that's going to be nuclear. It's going to be natural gas. There is absolutely a role for renewables, but it is not a predominant role.
Right.
And we would like to see coal get put back into the mix if that's going to be possible. But the fact is the lights have got to stay on, and the electricity bills need to go down.
Yeah. Now, just to sort of turn our attention to other more pedestrian issues, and I don't mean pedestrian in a bad way, but, you know, the retail issues of the work that you do, which is things like voter integrity, right? Talk about what's going on with that and safeguarding it for the elections down the road.
Yeah, you know, when you think about it, right, how do you win an election in a battleground state or a battleground congressional district? 1, you got to have a great candidate who runs a great race. 2, you got to get out the vote. 3, you got to protect the ballot. The RNC has been get out the vote for the last 50 years. That's what we do. We know how to get out the vote. We recruit and train tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of volunteers to make millions of phone calls, knock on doors, and go out there and get those votes out. But for the first time ever in 24, we built a national election integrity program. And we made sure that we had the right rules of the road in place before Election Day, to make sure, before voting started, right? To make sure that only American citizens can vote, that you have voter ID in place, that states are cleaning up the voter rolls, and that we're going to have basic protections for mail-in ballots. And then you got to be in the room. Right? You got to be in the room with poll workers and poll judges and observers and lawyers, right? That was a huge focus that we built nationally, so that in every single battleground state, every precinct, we had poll workers and poll judges and observers and lawyers. That makes a tremendous difference in terms of the comfort level that every Republican has in the election cycle, and they know that they can trust the outcome.
You know, our good friend Bailey Wood, our Ben's brother Bailey Wood, we can talk about that officially. I think we can. He likes to say, you know, elections are all about victory, otherwise it's just civics. I think you've taken that very much to heart. Before I let you go, 4th of July, the buffet is laid out in front of you. Where does Michael Whatley go? What's the first thing that goes on his plate?
You know, it's got to be a big old burger.
There you go.
Absolutely. Hot dogs to be followed.
And what do you avoid? You know, what actually, you know something, you don't have to say what you avoid, because I don't want you to step in any controversy. You know, George Bush saying he doesn't like broccoli. I don't want to do that for you. Michael, how do folks find out more about the good work you guys are doing at the RNC?
You know, they can follow me on X at Chairman Whatley, and they can go to thegop.com to find out more about what we're working on. And, of course, follow the president. Follow Rapid Response. Follow the White House on X. The messages are going to be there, and at Truth Social as well.
Well, Michael Whatley, listen, you stay safe out there on the road. Thank you so very much for joining us. Happy Independence Day to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrew. Great to see you.
Take care. That was Michael Whatley, chairman of the Republican National Committee. I'm Andrew Langer. We'll be right back.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
You know, a lot of opposition out there to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which passed yesterday. I mean, listen, they brought them all together and then got it passed. And obviously, Democrats of all stripes and flavors were voicing their opposition to the bill. You know, and obviously there is a horse race going on. You know, there is a horse race going on in the Democratic Party. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about Zoran Mamdani and how he relates to all this and Democratic extremism. But I want to start, you know, something. I'm going to start with Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, who, of course, had to go out there and say something because he's got to beat Gavin Newsom to the punch, right? Gavin Newsom is his principal opposition running for president. Neither of them is running, right? Sure. Rolling my eyes. You can't see it. Let's go ahead and play cut number 7 there, Jeff.
Listen, I just finished my latest brief on Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. And I cannot explain enough how completely heartless this bill is.
Oh, my God.
And how deeply devastating it will be to the people of the state of Maryland. And here's a snapshot. If you are a multimillionaire, congratulations, because this bill is for you. But if you are everyone else, if you're all of our working families, one of our seniors, our public servants, you are getting hosed. Close to 200,000 Marylanders could lose their health coverage overnight. And rural hospitals in the state of Maryland? rural hospitals could lose $250 million.
Not true. All right, we can end it there, Jeff. Not true. I mean, here's the thing. Listen, love him or hate him, and he couldn't, unfortunately, make his way out of the primary. At least Peter Franchot gave these policies a fair shake. You might remember that the Maryland Comptroller, Peter Franchot, did an analysis of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and found that the vast majority of Marylanders would either have a tax cut or would not see their taxes change. A small number of folks would see their taxes go up. And that was about an honest an accounting as you could get from a Democrat of this bill. So, Westmore, I'm getting briefings on this, blah, 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 blah. It's only going to help billionaires. Yeah, billionaires what? Billionaires who are working overtime? Billionaires who are getting tips? I mean, the working class Marylanders who are going to benefit from this are massive. Massive amounts of money are going to go back into these folks' pockets. And that's as it should be. And by the way, they don't care. They don't. They for them, they don't even think about real working class Marylanders. How do I know this? Well, Jamie Raskin said it best. I'm going to play two clips here from Jamie Raskin. Now we got a bit of time here. First, we got this weird moment. Let's play cut number 8, please, Jeff.
No taxes on tips, which is part of this bill for working people who work on a tipped wage. Do you support that?
I haven't looked seriously at it because I haven't thought they were serious about it.
What? I mean, just let's remember that it was the Democratic nominee for president of the United States last year, the titular nominee, Kamala Harris, who stole Donald Trump's plan for no taxes on tips and made it a part of her plan. Now, is it possible that when Jamie Raskin was shilling for Kamala Harris last year, that he knew that she wasn't treating it seriously, that it was just lip service? Probably. But then I want you to hear the paternalism that Jamie Raskin evinces right here. Let's go ahead and play cut number 9.
Tips are income, and I would prefer just to have a much more progressive income tax, so people who are making a lot of money are paying more, much more like happened under very conservative presidents like Nixon or Eisenhower, than to give people the kind of symbolic consolation prize of saying we're not going to tax tips. I mean, tips are income. I suppose that it's difficult to record them and to keep track of them. So I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I think that it's a major distraction from what's really gone on, which is
right.
The GOP.
Anybody who's ever worked we can end it there. Anybody who's ever worked a job that is a tip-related job knows how important tips are. And how much income you can bring in and how they are supposed to be able to help you sort of provide that living wage that you're looking at. Now, yeah, believe me, I'm someone who can rail about, how we're tipping all over the world now in ways. But I tend to the line from My Blue Heaven, I don't just believe in tipping, I believe in over-tipping. But that's what they think of you, working class Marylanders. That's what people in Montgomery County, Democrats in Montgomery County, working class Democrats in Montgomery County, service working class Democrats in Montgomery County. That's what Jamie Raskin thinks of you. He thinks that you shouldn't keep more of your hard-earned tip income or all of your hard-earned tip income. He wants to take that away from you. Oh, and by the way, he says, I guess it's hard for them to deal with the record keeping. That's not why we're engaging in no taxes on tips. We're engaging in no taxes on tips because you're working hard for that money and you deserve to keep it. We got so much more to get to. Right now it's 6:22 here on WMAL. I would never deign to do a Critter Corner without Heather or Julie or Patrice here with me. But in the meantime, are the Democrats getting crazy or you be the judge? There's a busy bee teacher, Barbara Kingsley, on TikTok. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, you just couldn't call, could you, Magus? You just couldn't help out a few thousand or million people who are going to go hungry and are going to live in the streets. Thanks, MAGA. Thanks a whole hell of a lot. Because most of the people live in your state.
Oh, my God. Something that is going to be evergreen. I wish I knew how to auto-tune things because I would turn that into the next hit jam of the summer, right? We don't have We don't have they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. But thanks a lot, MAGA. By the way, that was not Katharine Hepburn, and that was not somebody doing a Katharine Hepburn impression. I was a woman on TikTok, Busy Bee Zero, Barbara Kingsley teaches up at Gettysburg as a communications person. Matthew Faraci. When we come back, I'm Andrew Langer. It is 6:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Well, welcome back. This is yet another of my recordings here from the Faith and Freedom Coalition's Road to the Majority 2025 in Washington, D.C. Joining me right now is my colleague at the Federal Newswire. He is a longtime activist. He's now living in Israel. His name is Matt Faraci. Matt, thank you so very much for joining us.
Dr. Langer, it's a pleasure to be in your office.
Hey, thank you. Yes, I promise you I will not make you bend over, not make you take a deep breath. So as we're recording this, I've been asking folks about what the 4th of July means to them. This has a special significance to you right now, living as you are in Israel and dealing with the daily struggles over there. What does independence and the independence portion of Independence Day mean to you?
Yeah, it's funny. It means a lot, especially traveling back and forth between here and there.
Yeah.
Because so many people I know in Israel, people don't know that there are hundreds of thousands of Americans.
Yes.
Literally in Israel.
Right.
I think the number is like north of 500,000. It's quite extensive.
As a percentage of the population, higher than, shall we say, in the countries surrounding Israel that want to chant death to America and death to Israel. Yes.
So I think independence this July 4th means that we have a president that actually, I saw this amazing clip the other day, somebody on X posted.
Yeah.
And it was every president since Clinton saying Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. but emphatically, including my old boss, George W. Bush,
right.
Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. But nobody did anything about it. And now, I go back to Norman Rockwell, that amazing, iconic painting from World War II, Freedom from Fear, right?
Yes.
Freedom from Want. And this is like freedom from nukes, from Iran,
from the nuclear threat.
It's really amazing.
It's so funny because I'm reminded of that line from the very first Austin Powers movie. Let's steal a nuclear weapon and hold the world hostage. I mean, because essentially this is what it was. It was a way of holding the world hostage.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's funny because lots of debate internally, lots of debate in the conservative movement over whether or not the decision a couple of Fridays ago to go and involve the U.S. military in this, as clear as I could tell, maybe you can help me noodle through if this was the right theory. There was a moment where many of us thought that Israel might possibly drop a tactical nuclear weapon on these facilities, and that the U.S. said, no, don't do that. That would be a bad idea. And Israel most likely said, hey, if you don't want us to do this, then perhaps maybe you ought to use some of your bunker buster bombs that we don't have. Your thoughts on this, about the U.S. sort of moving in there to prevent something perhaps more escalatory from happening?
Well, first of all, it came out this morning that that the bunker busters that were dropped were specifically designed for Fordow. In other words, they had been practicing this specific scenario. And the evidence of that is Top Gun 2.
Sure.
Where that's actually
Top
the plot.
Gun 2, even more Top Gunning,
Gun Maverick,
yes. Yeah.
Right. Where that's the plot. I think what's really interesting is, did you see the tweet 2 days ago where Trump is basically expressing his high regard for Bibi?
Yes.
And he goes into great detail about what he thinks of Bibi. And what's very revealing is he talks about how closely they worked together on this, how they fought together on this. And, you get the feeling that he and Bibi were like brothers in arms in this fight. And so I think that it's very clear that from the very beginning, from the first moment of this, that Trump and Bibi had this planned out.
Right.
And so I don't really buy the line that Israel was going to – I mean, I think Israel, left on its own, Israel would have probably used those means.
Sure.
But because Trump has Israel's back.
Right.
And this is why we have this podcast on the U.S.-Israel alliance.
Right.
We complement each other.
Yes.
And Israel did not have to go to that degree because America was able to step in and finish the job.
And let's talk about this because I was remiss in my introduction and did not say you're a fellow host on the Federal Newswire. You do this podcast on U.S.-Israel relations. Tell us about the podcast.
Yeah, it's called Peace and Power Israel.
Yep.
And it's about the U.S.-Israel alliance, not as the U.S. as a patron and Israel as a supplicant, but as a true partnership.
Sure.
And we go through all the details and highlights of the partnership, and that's what it is.
Right.
People don't know, for example, that Israel benefits America. Let's say America loans Israel $3 billion a year for military equipment. The analysis is that Israel benefits the U.S. back to the tune of like $53 billion in exchange.
Sure.
So it is a partnership, and that's the story we're telling.
And it's a partnership that, while we're helping Israel, does put America first at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, well, the other thing is, look, we're looking at the big story this week, the insane Islamist mayor of New York.
Yes.
And I say Islamist because it's that red-green alliance between communism.
Isn't that interesting?
And
I like that. Did you coin that term?
Somebody else might have used it.
Okay,
But
Islamist. I love it.
It's what I've been using.
I could see Chris Plant using that quite a bit.
Yes, it would be a great plant.
But it's the Islamist alliance. Go ahead.
It's the red-green alliance.
Yes, of course.
And the truth is that there's only two countries in the world with the guts to fight these guys. It's America and Israel.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Look, what's Europe doing? Okay, take an exception like Poland, but essentially Western Europe is saying, dominate us.
Sure.
Take us over.
Right. Well, we've seen the recent writings about there is no France anymore because of what's happened with the Islamists.
Look at Londanistan.
Yes.
It's not even a city. The footage you see, it's unbelievable.
Right. So let me ask you this. So we had this action. There are some folks in circles who say that we've now made the world a more dangerous place, that we've destabilized things. I am inclined to disagree with that. I think, a world in which Iran does not have nuclear weapons is a there we go. It's the dangers of recording
That
live.
was our friend Kevin Stitt, the governor of Oklahoma.
Very
big
nice.
Supporter of Israel.
Yeah,
big supporter
excellent.
of Israel.
Anyway, so de-escalatory, escalatory. We've now defanged Iran. Your thoughts here?
I think Trump prevented, God willing prevented, but at least delayed World War III.
Yeah,
he did not, and I think all the bedwetting that was happening before this, Trump had a plan. It was not going to be Iraq 2.0.
Right. Thank you, Matt Faraci. Check him out on the Federal Newswire. He's got a great podcast there. We got more coming up at 6:43 on WMAL. You can call me Al at any point in time. I mean, actually, literally, AL is my initials. I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor today. So listen, we played this tape of the crazy ranting teacher. Thanks a lot, MAGA. And the brains get broken the more that the surreality that the Democrats create for themselves. I know this is supposed to be a day about coming together. Oh, but boy, you can't miss this stuff. And there are some changes going around. Is all what I'm saying. The more your cognitive dissonance grows, and the worldview you have created yourself does not match the reality that the rest of us have to live in, you get crazy. And it's showing in these shifts. The Democrats are going off the deep end. And here is Harry Enton on CNN, the great pollster from CNN, Harry Enton, stunned by some of the turns. Let's go ahead and play cut number 16.
Andrew Cuomo, during the primary, attacked Mamdani as being insufficiently pro-Israel. I'm not quite sure the former governor understood how much the politics have changed around this issue among Democrats. What are we talking about here? All right, who Democrats sympathize more with, Israelis or Palestinians? In 2017, the Democratic Party was a pro-Israeli party. Look at this. They sympathized with the Israelis by 13 points, more with the Israelis than the Palestinians. But look at this sea change. Now Democrats sympathize more with the Palestinians by 43 points. Oh, my God, that is a change in the margin of 56 points over the course of just 8 years. So all of a sudden, it's the pro-Palestinian position that actually reigns supreme in Democratic politics, not the Israeli position. And that is part of the reason why Mamdani was able to do so well in this primary, because those attacks over Israel, simply put, did not ring true for Democrats. They're now on the side of the Palestinians, not the Israelis.
I mean, this is a much bigger issue, specifically with Mamdani, though. I mean, an outspoken critic of Israel. He's
all right, Jeff, we can go ahead.
criticism.
We can go ahead and end it there. I mean, listen. This is where things are going to go, and this is how the Democratic Party has shifted, right? We talk about the fact, and you have a lot of Democrats, right? I have some clips here, and I've played them during the week doing some other shows, where we talk about, Democrats raising the alarm. Mark Penn, the Clinton pollster, raising the alarm. Other Democrat pollsters, Stephen A. Smith, raising the alarm on folks like Mamdani. But this is what happens. Is that you have these folks raising this rhetoric, they're ever more extreme, and that moves the center of the Democrat Party leftward. And then you add into it just the crazy rantings of folks like Elie Mystal. Elie Mystal is a progressive writer, podcaster, etc. Let's play what he had to say regarding the recent bombing of these Iranian nuclear sites. Let's play cut number 17.
They go along. They're making it up again because they understand Trump's poll numbers were tanking. He can't pass his bill. His actions are unpopular. He's deploying troops on the streets of Los Angeles. So let's have a war. Let's have some bombing that always tends to get people to rally around the flag. Joy, I've argued...
We can end this here because he's on the Joy Reid podcast, and what he's about to say is that the U.S. ought to be brought up as war criminals and tried, et cetera, et cetera. But let's get to the meat of what he just said. First of all, he lied. President Trump's poll numbers are actually really good, especially when compared with his first term and when you compare where Obama was in his second term. And frankly, he's on pace with where Obama and Biden were in their first terms, right? Largely, so his poll numbers are not tanking. His poll numbers are holding steady, and what he's doing is actually empirically popular. And more to the point, his policies are working. And yet the Democrats feel that they have to lie, whether or, on these things, lie about the numbers, lie about the economy, make up these fatuous claims that there's no threat from Iran, right? You can't have it both ways, by the way. You can't have it both ways. And I'm looking at Chris Murphy. I'm from Connecticut. I'm looking at Mark Warner from Virginia. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that we bombed and there was no threat, and then turn around a couple of days later and say, oh, well, the bombing didn't do anything and Iran is now still close to having a nuclear weapon. Right? Because if that's the case, well, then we got to go bomb again. Not that we necessarily need to. You just can't do that. And this is what drives, frankly, this is what drives the mass hysteria that's out there. And so I say to you guys, listen, it is Independence Day, right? It is the 4th of July. It's a day for celebrating America. By the way, we're going to be joined, I should have teased this more earlier, Emily Sturge from Campus Reform is going to join us in the 8 a.m. hour to talk about the renewed patriotism among Gen Z. One of the problems that we have is that there is very little in the way of a common frame of reference. I mentioned this in my interview with Michael Whatley, I think. Maybe that was Blanketa Column, in which I talk about the issue of coming together and finding some common ground as to where things are, some common frame of reference. You lose that, you can never come together to solve problems. That is an issue. Listen, it is right now. It is 5:53 right here on O'Connor and Company, WMAL.